So those of you that have been watching my channel recently, you know that I have been debating picking between these brands, the Sony versus the Fuji APS-C system. And I finally made a decision. I'm happy to say, because it's been really weighing heavy on my mind and taken a lot of my mental space. I've decided to go forward with Fuji and go on an adventure with them and see where it leads me. That's not to say there's anything wrong with Sony. Sony's a great brand, and all camera brands are great. And I love that they compete with each other and we make progress and move forward. But for me, Fuji just feels like the right path to take. So I'm going to move my Sony gear on and invest more into the Fuji. Definitely going to get a second body, maybe even a third. I've got family members that shoot as well. So we're going to move our whole family across to Fuji and see where it takes us. Now, I will give you some reasons that made me switch that way. It wasn't an easy decision because I'm quite, not heavily, but I am invested in Sony. 2 cameras, 3 lenses, chargers, batteries, relocation mounts, etc., etc. It's quite a headache to actually move brands. So despite that, Fuji has just taken my interest and my heart into that direction. And there's something about this camera. Reason number 1 is the form factor. There's just something when you hold it, when you shoot, even the sound of the shutter button, I don't know, there's just something about it. All the dials are accessible on the front, so you can easily change things. You can take port door off. There's just little quirky things about it that I like. I'm quirky myself, so I just feel like I've found my home with this camera. And yeah, that's the main reason. There's just something about it. I can't actually tell you the one reason. There's just a multiple number of things added together that felt right for me. So form factor would be the number 1 on paper reason, let's say. Well, actually not in that order, but let's say one of the reasons is the form factor. The second reason is the image quality. If you have a look at my previous recent videos, I compared the 2 cameras, and I just feel like Fuji, in my eyes, is doing a better job with the way I shoot, whether it be JPEGs or editing the log footage. It just felt easier, and the image felt more true to what my eyes see. But that's not to say Sony's bad. Color is so subjective and images are so subjective. I always learned that in graphic design, the number 1 thing that they sort of say is color is relative. So even people don't see the same colors. A green to someone is a different green to someone else. Monitors see them differently, etc., etc. So I don't want to go down that road, but just for me, something about the Fuji image just looks good. I don't know, it's filmic, it's vintage something. I don't know, there's just something about it. So form factor, the image quality. Third one, I love the film simulations that they have, otherwise known as not picture profiles. Sony calls them creative styles. So different camera manufacturers call them different things. But the beauty of Fuji is that they had film back in the day, and they've now got this film as a digital sort of simulation, I guess they call it. Yeah. So it's just awesome to shoot, and then you just see it on the screen. The JPEG or the RAW is already color graded, if you like. And you can take the RAWs into Lightroom, and Lightroom will recognize that you've shot with the X-T3, and then you can bring those film simulations into your picture, so you can use them on the RAW. Or straight out of the camera on the JPEG. So I love those. There's a few different ones there. If you want to see a video, I'll link it down below. I actually did a quick video comparing all of them one by one so that you can see what's available. Fourth reason is the flip screen. I know this is going to sound silly because it's not actually a proper flip screen, but I prefer this screen because it not only goes up, but it goes out this way, which the Sony didn't have. And if you're shooting for Instagram, you'll see that, the sort of preferred method is annoyingly not landscape, it is portrait. So if you're shooting portrait and you can't take, if you can only take it out this way and not that way, it becomes quite annoying if you're shooting at the hip or down below. So I really like that this actually flips this way. And it was a deciding factor in the camera. It was part of my decision. So just a quick note on the flip screen for video. Of course, I forgot to cover that this doesn't give you the flip screen all the way up into selfie mode, but I've purchased this very cheap little accessory. It's basically just a mirror that bounces what's on here up into the mirror and then out. So you'll see when I turn it on, you can see the reflection. So it becomes a selfie screen, and you've got the ability to take it on or off. I actually quite like it. I didn't think I would, but yeah, it still allows, the camera still then gives me the ability to do those portraits like I just said to you with the flipping of this screen, which the Sony didn't. So although it did flip up, but when it flipped up, it obscured the microphone, so you still had to get a relocation mount. So neither are perfect, but I actually really like this system. I'm surprised that I like this screen. I didn't think I would. So that's just a little side note. The last one, like not super important for me now, but if I were to do something for someone where it's the footage is critical, this camera and this APS-C line has the double card slots, which, you know, if you're shooting for someone, you just don't want to risk that the footage is not recording. So that is going forward, that's something that I want to make sure I have. So yeah, they're the 5 reasons. Like they're nothing huge, and they're not, you know, the Sony has things that this doesn't have, but there's just something about this system overall to me that's making me want to push in that direction. And we'll see what the future holds, you know. I might come full circle and come back to a different manufacturer, but for the moment, Fuji has like sparked a new creative, you know, thing in me. I just feel like it's making me want to pick up the camera more and just do stuff. And even like family members are grabbing this camera and just, you know, doing snaps around the house. Just feels good to like hear the shutter go. Let me give you a shutter click. It just sounds cool. I don't know. There's something about it. It just feels like you've taken a good picture when you hear that sound. I know this sounds crazy, but yeah, they're the reasons for me. And I hope this video helps you in some way. If you're tossing up different camera systems, I highly recommend that trying them. Reading online is one thing, but actually trying it in your hand is another. And sometimes also one thing to note is that, you know, I didn't immediately fall in love with this camera. It was awkward to come from the Sony, which is really small and all the buttons are sort of accessible with your thumb, and suddenly you got dials and knobs. But I always give things a couple of weeks. It's like, you know, I describe it like it's like, you know, when you get a new mattress and you lay on it, it's like, oh my God, it's so hard or soft compared to, because you're used to something else. So yeah, try out your cameras and give them some time. Don't just, you know, decide overnight, oh, I don't like this, because your body gets used to something. It's probably not going to like it at first, but after a, you know, couple of days, couple of weeks, you sort of, oh wow, this is really, really cool. Like, so yeah, that's my 2 tips for deciding on a camera. And yeah, if you like the video, just give a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I'll be doing more Fuji stuff and yeah, and other video, photo related content, and maybe other things too. I'm still kind of undecided where I sit in the whole creative space, but yeah. See you soon. Bye.